All right, let's talk about the books I read in April. In April, I really wanted to read some books that made me happy. I wanted to read some cute, fluffy, romantic, adorable, heartwarming stories to make me forget about everything that's happening in the world right now. And I started with Geekerella, which was everything that I needed. Absolutely everything. It was a lovely, wonderful story, and I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I feel like it's maybe like a 4.5, but it was really, really good. And it was adorable and absolutely everything that I needed at the time. 4.5? 4.75? It's near the top there. If you're not aware, Geekerella is about a girl who lives with her stepmom and her stepsisters that are terrible and evil to her. And she is a part of this fandom from an old TV show that's kind of like Star Trek. And she really wants to go to this convention that her dad actually created because there's a costume contest surrounding her fandom that she's a part of for this TV show. And the winner gets to go to the premiere of the movie reboot that they're filming of the TV show. And the girl is super not impressed with the person they have cast to play the main character, and she actually writes a blog about how she hates the person who's been cast as the main character, and it actually ends up going viral. And it follows her, and it also follows the guy who plays the main character in the reboot of this TV show.
Hi, editing Nat here. I forgot to mention a big main part of what Geekerella is about. A big part of the story is that the girl and the guy are texting each other throughout the story, but neither of them know who the other person is, so she doesn't know that she's texting this famous actor guy who she does not like. And he doesn't know that he's texting the writer of this blog who hates him.
And it's super sweet. It's got a lot of fandom stuff in it, which is what I think I loved so much about it, was getting lost in magic, basically. It's sci-fi, it's like science fiction, the TV show, but it's like getting lost in stuff that's not real and escaping into things and pretending that things that aren't real are real, and having that place to escape into with this TV show and with other people who love the TV show. The other thing that I really liked about it is that the guy who plays the main character is also a longtime fan of the show, and really, really wants to do this part justice. And it's really interesting seeing his perspective as the person who is basically playing his idol. He's getting to play the person that he has adored growing up, and the public is really upset about it, and they don't think that he's good for the part, and it's really good, and it was sweet, and it has my favorite love trope of all time, which is famous people and non-famous people falling in love. And it was very sweet, it was very cute, and the fandom stuff, I think, is what made me love it so much, and what really helped me get through some tough times that everyone is going through, I'm sure. So, Geekerella was great. After I read Geekerella, I read The OK Witch by Emma Steinkellner, which is a graphic novel about a girl who finds out that she's a witch. And it was very cute. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The beginning was slow, and I wasn't really interested in the backstory that we were getting in the beginning, but it ended up getting really good. And I thought it was adorable, and I really, really enjoyed it. There's not much else to say about it. It's just a middle grade graphic novel that I read in about an hour. This is when things start to take a bit of a turn. So then I picked up Listen to Your Heart by Casey West, because I was continuing my cutesy, feel-good, romance, adorable, heartwarming TBR for the month. And while reading this, I realized I don't want to read books about real life. Reading books about real life was depressing me. And I think the reason I still really liked Geekerella, even though Geekerella was about real life, was because there was the fandom stuff surrounding a sci-fi show. So it had that magical aspect to it, and it had characters escaping into things that I could relate to. This did not have that. This was just people in high school doing high school. And it was not what I needed. I thought it was what I needed when I made my TBR for April, but it was not what I needed. Also, this book is a little bit younger than I was expecting. There are some Casey West books, all of Casey West books are geared towards a young audience. But I find some of them are a little bit younger than some of the other ones. So I didn't really connect with it very much, and I wasn't like super into it or anything, but it was good. If I was just rating it purely on my experience, I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars, but I gave it 4 stars because I'm not the target audience. It is not written for me, and for me to give it a lower rating because it felt too young for me, I feel like it's ridiculous and stupid. So I rated it based on how I would have thought about it if I read it when I was 13 or 14. And you know, I would have really enjoyed it. If I read this in grade 9, I would have really liked it. This book is about a girl in high school who has a podcasting class, and she actually has to be the host of the podcast, and the podcast is about giving advice. And there's a guy in it who calls in asking for advice about his crush, and kind of goes on from there. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After realizing I did not want to read a book about real life, I picked up The Light at the Bottom of the World by London Shaw, which, can we appreciate this cover for a second? Except this is where things continue to turn. I only read half of it because I didn't like it. I feel real bad. Also because half of it was only 150 pages, so I only had 120 pages left, actually, which isn't that much. But when you're not enjoying it, it is much. So this is about a future where the world is completely flooded and everyone lives underwater, and the cities are completely covered in water, which is what made me want to read it in the first place. And the main character's dad gets arrested, but then she finds out that he wasn't actually arrested and he was taken by some weird group of people, and she's trying to find him and rescue him. But I didn't like the writing at all. It was funny, actually, pretty much right after trying to describe what it was that I didn't like about the writing, I came across a tweet from someone, I don't know who, that perfectly captured what I was feeling. And I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember the word that she used, which was prove it. If something is big, or something is scary, or something is gross, or something is fast, prove it to me. Don't just tell me it's fast. Show me it being fast. Prove it to me. Why? What is making you say that this thing is fast? And in my reading vlog, if you didn't see, I had an example where it said that something was impossibly strong and it refused to die. But it didn't explain to me what made the character say that it was strong and why it was refusing to die, or how it was refusing to die. Like, what was it doing? I had no idea. You just told me it didn't die and that is it. That's all I got from it. And that's what a lot of the descriptions were. And so I didn't really like it. I didn't connect with any of the characters. I didn't care about anything that was going on. I didn't like it. So I stopped reading it. I'm sorry to this author. I'm sorry I didn't like your book. I'm sure other people did. I'm sure people did. Also, it's a really pretty cover, so that's nice. And then this is where things start to get better. I picked up The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern and fell in love. So this is actually the first book that I read this year that I really, 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 really loved. There's usually a few books that I read a year, at least a few, that I just I love it. And this is the first one this year that this has happened to me. Oh my goodness gracious me. This book gets all of the stars. I think on my Goodreads review I said I was giving it 11 million. Yes. Also, I am not a book tabber. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, I tabbed the shit out of this one. So it has two main aspects of the story. So the first main aspect is it follows a university student named Zachary who checks out this really, really old, mysterious book from this university library that has a whole bunch of magical short stories all surrounding this magical place called the Starless Sea. And he is in one of the stories. And him in the story is actually something that happened to him. It's not just about a boy named Zachary or anything. It is a thing that specifically happened to him, and that's what the story is about. And he's like, what is going on? So it's about him trying to figure out what's going on with that and how to get to the Starless Sea and if it's real, and other people that he meets along the way. And then it also has all the stories from this book that he checked out of the library, and also two other books. There's stories from 3 books, I believe, that you get to read. And then as it gets deeper into the story, it goes back and forth between Zachary's story and then like other people's stories and stuff. It's not just the stories from the books. But the really, really cool thing about it was that the stories that you get to read from these books are, first of all, they were so magical and lovely and wonderful, and I loved them all. They were so whimsical and beautiful and just great. But as you read this book, you find out more about who these people are that these stories are about, and it gives you a completely different perspective on them. So there's a few stories that I actually reread while I was reading this, as we found out who they were about, and it blew my mind, because I was like, oh my goodness, like I have a completely different perspective on the story now that I know who this person is. Like, it's making me like view it completely differently, and it was amazing being able to experience a few of the stories in the book like completely differently. The writing's very whimsical. The story, I mean, I guess it was slow. I don't know. I didn't think it was slow. I read this really quickly. It's like 500 pages, and I read it in like 4 or 5 days. But I guess it's similar to the Night Circus in the way where it just follows people. And you just are following people and being immersed in magic. And the story is almost like a secondary part, or the plot is like a secondary part of the story. This is basically just a way for you to escape into a magical world and be a part of the magical world with these people. It doesn't need to have a big, exciting, elaborate plot. Unless that's what you want to read about, then of course. But it was just a magical, lovely, wonderful story with beautiful characters and beautiful, like, thoughts and dialogue, and like, obviously look at how much I tabbed. And this is coming from me, someone who is like, has been like against tabbing. Not just someone who hasn't really wanted to do it. I've been like not against it for other people to do it, but I've been against myself doing it. I've been like, why would I do that? But I had to. Basically, the last 20 pages I was sobbing the whole time while I was reading the last 20 pages. I loved it. This is definitely, like, I think I have 3 favorite books now. They're all tied for first, and I can't rank them anymore. And that's The Night Circus, The Starless Sea, and Absolutely Remarkable Thing. Like, they're all equal in their own ways. It's my favorite book because they just are so wonderful, and they just make everything feel so real. And the magic in this felt so real, and I loved it so much. And I'm so glad that I went in a different direction and decided to pick up magical books, because this was just so magical. Yeah. I guess that's all. I don't know if I'm going to have a May TBR. I do have 3 books that I'm kind of planning on reading, but I'm not sure. I've been kind of mood reading since all this happened. So I don't think I'm actually going to film a TBR for May. I'll just have to wait for my May wrap-up to see what I decided to read. I have been filming reading vlogs. They've been making me feel a little less lonely, being able to talk to the camera throughout my days and stuff. So if you are interested in what I'm going to be reading in May, check out my reading vlogs, because I definitely will be talking about them in those. And don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. I never spoil anything in my videos without warning. And when I do spoil stuff, it's with warning. It's rare. So yeah, okay, bye. Have a good day. I hope you're all doing well.